Whoa, whoa, whoa. Believe it or not, this is not the Pirate Software Sucks channel. Okay. We do cover other things around here, but guess what? This guy's making a lot of waves right now. So here we are with yet another update on what's going on with Pirate Software slash Thor slash Jason Hall. Almost forgot that last one. He probably wishes I would. So here we go. We have Pirate Nation here. I wanted to say User Nation. It's getting that way. We've got Pirate Nation here, not the same as Pirate Software. Now, apparently, what's gone on here is that a user went and reviewed Pirate Software's game Heartbound and found that it has a DRM, which is an online only, an online way of verifying a game's registry. So where it comes from, basically, if you're using a official piece or if you're using a piece that is not set up to authenticate itself through Steam. Now, there's been a bit of back and forth about this, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you the review full on, okay? So we're going to have somebody else read this. It's AI. Sorry, you're just going to have to live with that. I don't know a lot of people that want to read this nor even comprehend it. I'm one of those guys, so here's the clip.
As a below-average developer, I downloaded Heartbound purely to evaluate the claim that its always online DRM is essential. Pirate Software has been vocally opposed to movements like #StopKillingGames, while simultaneously boasting about his expertise in cybersecurity. His ego got so inflated even Pyro Cynical made a video about him. That's how I found out about him. His main justification is that the game must be always online, even in a purely single-player game, to verify Steam achievement flags as a form of DRM and anti-cheat. To be more specific, core gameplay abilities are locked behind these achievements. But is this solution from a well-respected security expert any good? Fundamentally, no. Tools for Steam's achievement API, YKWIM, easily spoof achievements and bypass these checks. The achievement check is entirely client-side and trivial to manipulate. I ran the game in a sandboxed VM and spoofed the requests. I monitored traffic with Wireshark. There was no evidence of server-side communication. DRM approaches that can be bypassed that trivial aren't a groundbreaking security innovations. It's a friendly suggestion, and not unpiratable, his words. For this, he is willingly misinterpreting EU digital preservation legislation and defending a model where developers are legally able to shut down a game any time without notice. Blizzard's EULA even states that they don't even need a reason for sudden shutdowns. Let's check if the rest of the code can hold up to his security expertise. First, it's made in GameMaker, the prime example of a security risk game engine. Using standard tools for GameMaker games, again, YKWIM, I examined the compiled bytecode. Some statements below may be assumptions from decompilation artifacts. I have also skimmed through his VODs for cross-referencing, and the coding style appears consistent to what I saw. No evidence of anti-debugging, encrypted bytecode, or integrity checks. No use of dynamic code loading or runtime obfuscation to deter reverse engineering. The binary shows no signs of packing, encryption, or compression, for example UPX, Themata, Enigma. Strings are stored plainly, no obfuscation or dynamic reconstruction detected. No debugger detection or it did a very bad job. No thread hiding or anti-hooking. I attached a debugger, hooked functions, and used breakpoints without issue. No code injection tested. Further but not fully verifiable, there appear no signs of self-verification, no checksums, no tamper flags, no anti-trainer, anti-hook, or runtime integrity systems. Maybe I wasn't thorough enough, but I had far too much insight over the game's logic. Also relies heavily on switch statements, magic numbers, and hard-coded logic. This could come from the decompilation. For a bottom-of-the-line software developer, me, who is forced to follow DIN ISO IEC 27001/27034 standards just to pass industrial cooperation guidelines each year, it is kind of depressing seeing the code quantity, quality, maintainability from a well-respected public figure. Maybe those maintainability issues are coming back to bite him now. Updates seem slower. I wouldn't be surprised if working with that code base has become more frustrating than fun. Cheat Engine tests memory regions for player stats, world state, and logic flags were easily located, readable, and writable. No custom address randomization beyond standard OS ASLR. Modifying gameplay values was possible. No correction or integrity checks observable in my short testing time. Save files stored in plain, human-readable text. No, cheaters are sadly not illiterate. No cryptographic signature, no HMAC, not even a CRC check. I even found a GitHub a tool to manipulate the plain text. I watched a pirate software stream where he stated that Steam achievements were intended as a form of anti-cheat protection. But if that's truly the goal, why is the rest of the game that easy to manipulate? I'm talking about basic integrity measures, many of which are considered standard in the industry and can be implemented with minimal development overhead. His DRM approach neglect low overhead integrity measures expected in any secure software product and undermines the justification for this always online design. Just to be, again, very clear, the hashtag Stop Killing Games legislation only asks pirate software to either provide a minimal shutdown notice, maybe 3-month, or issue a patch after the game's service end that removes always online dependency for post-sale preservation. In his case, a few lines of code that constantly check online Steam achievements would need to be removed, and persistence store them in that plain text save file. So the 3 DEF CON Black Badge government power plant penetrating, Blizzard senior Red Hat CyberOps security expert genuinely believes that checking a Steam achievement flag is strong enough DRM to justify being online only for a single-player game. With that kind of back-end coding neglection, that's not enough to justify heavily insulting Ross and Stop Killing Games.
All right, and here it is. As you can see right here, the technical autopsy of Heartbound's always online DRM. Now, that guy obviously has a far greater grasp on this than I do, okay? And I want to echo what that just said. We're going to scroll down here real quick to the bottom, and it says, this is a legal note. The review is based on personal analysis of a legally purchased copy of the game. All right? This guy didn't go out here to try and tear down and make it capable of being ripped apart for other folks. He even discloses in this little legal note at the end of it that he's not interested in making this a how-to break Thor's game. However, Jason Hall, Thor, Pirate Software, apparently, or one of the mods he put in charge of this, banned the guy that was in charge of this. And apparently some comments that are noting this have also come up among the disappearing here. So again, you can't even talk about a user being banned on here or you'll get banned yourself. So we're sort of like a DEF CON 4 moment right now for Pirate Software. He did go out there and try to address this, as you can see right here. You have Pirate Nation, of course, the lead tweet we just showed you. And then right here, he's letting people know that Heartbound does not have an always online DRM. You know what? He can explain this better, but I'm going to make sure we use an AI voice for this one. So here's the clip on that one.
Heartbound does not have always online DRM. The game checks to see if it is running through Steam in online or offline mode, and also checks to see if a person is running it from a few piracy sites we know repackage it with malware. If a hit detects it, replaces the text telling players to contact me over Twitter. Each time someone contacts me, I ask them where they got the game. And if they got it from a piracy site, I walk them through the process of rudimentary scans using Windows Defender. Then I give them a key to the game. It's almost always young people that do this, and it's not their fault for pirating a game they want. Piracy is a service issue. Your game is too expensive, it will be pirated. Your game is not available, it will be pirated.
And then it got a little bit weirder, okay, guys? So you're going to take a look at this one right here. We're back to Pirate Nation with this lead tweet again, and now he's like here with the DRM. And then he's asked, but why ban him from the discussion board, though? That's the question that a lot of people have on this. Why ban this guy for this analysis? Well, a little bit of that reasoning poked out here in a reply to another user down below here. We're just going to skip back over and take a look at this. So Pirate Nation mocks Pirate Software, and he says, this was a community note written by Jason Hall. Now, obviously, that's not true. That's not how this works. And of course, community notes are, as Jason notes down here, at random. They're not assigned, if you will. Hey, you're the computer guy. Here's a computer problem that we need community noted. No, that's not how it works. However, a user named Mist replied with a decompile here. And so Jason once again came out here and tried to explain what's going on in this decompile and where the errors in the assumption that Mist was making were. However, I don't know anything about this, so I'm just going to play the AI clip of Jason explaining it, and here we go.
Your decompile lacks notes and missed the important bit at the top. I've also shown this live on stream a number of times over the years, so it's not a secret. For clarity, Steam Initialize returns true even if you run in offline mode. It's just making sure the game is run through Steam and is easily bypassed when the game is cracked. The other checks in here look for specific websites we've seen malware from and specific methods that normally bypass Steam. None of this is technically advanced or meant to be a solid wall against piracy, as nothing can be, It's just to raise the bar a little and get the people impacted to contact me so I can help them remove potential malware from their systems and give them a key as stated in the previous post up this chain. Of all the checks, my favorite one is checking for App ID 480, which is a tool that all Steam accounts have hidden in their library. Some piracy sites use this to let you run the game since it's technically in your library. You can see how many are using it at any given time here.
And finally, that led us over here to Reddit, where the story started burbling up in a big way as the user who created the review of it here over on Steam, right? This user here, that is Kunden Telefon. I think that's how you say that. Kunden Telefon. Might be a callback to the three body problem. I'm not quite sure. But I digress. This person went over here and explained I reviewed Pirate Software's always online DRM in his single player game, and it got me banned from his Steam hub. So there you go. If you bring this stuff to their attention, the people either moderating that or Pirate Software himself will ban you from being able to continue talking about this on the community hub, the Steam hub. Now, why this actually happened probably has more to do with it mentioning stop killing games than it does the actual review itself. As you can see with Pirate Software's replies here, he's not going out here knives out, you know?
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you realize this reality is not shaped by justice nor truth, but by indifference and the refusal to press one simple button. They don't forget to subscribe. No, they see it. They know what it means, and yet they scroll by, smug, detached, as if their click would cost them something. They take and consume, binge, and vanish, leaving behind nothing but watch history. Meanwhile, creators, honest, passionate, pour their souls into pixels and frames and are met with silence. This world, this system, it's broken. But what if it could be changed? What if we could build a new world, one where every viewer who finds value, who laughs, who learns, or escapes for a moment, subscribes without hesitation? A world where the algorithm no longer decides fate, but fairness does. That is my dream. That is the future I will forge. Even if I must overwrite reality itself to do it.
There are some things that are a bit ridiculous, like accusing him of being the community note guy. No. There are people out there that task themselves with being adult hall monitors and very much pride themselves in creating these community notes. And while Jason may be one of them, it is highly unlikely that he did this for his own topic. That again, there's so many community notes people that it's quite frankly almost statistically impossible to think that he got the one that he was supposed to that involved him. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot to try and push. And again, like I understand, there's a guy that replies with a link to this guy's tweet about it, explaining himself in the community note. I understand how it's easy to be like, oh, that guy did the community note and link to his own tweet explaining his own fix to the community note. I get it. I see how that you can arrive there, but if you know how big the community note crew is, that's very unlikely. And again, the language that Jason's using is not suggesting that he's knives out on this. However, he has been quite quick to reply to people, suggesting that there's probably a bit of defense going on at the moment. And as I said earlier, he still hasn't explained why this guy ended up being banned from the discussion board. So as I said, though, it's probably more to do with it mentioning stop killing games as opposed to the actual analysis itself. Had it not mentioned the stop killing games part, that probably would have been locked anyway, but that guy probably wouldn't have been banned. I'm going to say that Jason's become very, very defensive over this because, again, he works for Off Brand Games. This is a corporation that puts out games that have online functionality that will cripple a game when it loses that online functionality. So again, it's probably not in his employment's best interest. Now, he's a strategy guy. He's not the creator of these games. This rival of Rivals of Ether are not yeah, it's not Ether Rivals. That sounds too good. It's Rivals of Ether 2. And he's a strategy guy for the company itself, not that particular game, okay? However, you don't see the people that are in charge of making Tekken the game, like the actual corporation, not the fellas that are in the guts of it. You don't see the people that are part of the corporation coming out and speaking against fighting games. Now, do you? And so that's what I want to like point your attention to is that in all of this, Jason is probably just reacting out of this is my position in the world, and I have an obligation to uphold where I am in the world, as opposed to dethroning these people that make sure that I pay my bills, you know? Again, you can think of it however you like about this being a shady thing or otherwise. I try to understand that there is a corporate incentive in his mind to continue supporting having these games shut down whenever the corporations decide they're not financially feasible to keep going. Okay? Again, one side of the coin, the other side of the coin. You have the consumer that says, I want to keep the thing I bought. You have the corporation saying, you can't because we built it, so you can't do that. Ta-da! Right. It's easy to tell who's right or wrong here until you throw in, I have a job with the company that makes this stuff. Then it becomes complicated. So, what I have to tell you out there is just please try to remember that there are a lot of outside interests that come into this conversation, particularly in people who are defending the current model. And as always, check down below for that link. If you are a European citizen or know someone who is a European citizen, please make sure that that gets around. I believe this is the last day or one of the last days that you'll be able to do this. It is sort of important that that this is a that's right. You only have until Monday. That's the 30th. That would be tomorrow if you're seeing this video today. And you can hear that truck right now going by. You can hear that right now, pedal to the metal to get all the way over there to sign that petition. That's right. Like I said, if you know a European or you are a European yourself, make sure that this gets in front of them to get that signature on that website. Because again, the petition is not going to change the law. The petition is not going to become law. What this petition will do is start a conversation. It will demonstrate that there's enough people out there, at least on the European side, that are pushing for a change to what's going on with this current model of corporations controlling when and how a game can function. That's kind of annoying, right? That the Europeans are stuck with doing this because God knows the European Union is not to be trusted with this. However, it will start a conversation globally. It will force corporations in the USA to also recognize this because what happens in the EU ends up washing on our shores eventually, okay? So there you have it. Make sure that that signature gets around. Make sure your signature gets around. And also make sure that your buddy's signatures get around. And as always, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Good luck out there.